the economy could still get hammered. You're probably looking at me saying, well, that's not going to happen. Inflation is down to 3% now due to the CPI. Unemployment's at 3.6%. It really doesn't get any better than that. Stock market's way up. How can you argue with the fact that the stock market is at a 2-year high right now? That means the economy is great. Housing market, sort of mediocre, but it's not that bad. Interest rates are sort of high, but it doesn't seem to be crippling anybody right now. But think about what could happen. The Fed is not done raising rates. They've made that very clear. The fact that inflation is lower doesn't mean it's as low as the Fed would like. A couple of more rate increases from the Fed means that things like mortgage rates could go to 7 or 8%. That could wreck the housing market. It could also make business loans a lot more expensive, which means businesses will have a cost of business goes up, and that means fewer employees usually. The next thing that people forget about is that the war in Ukraine is a war. One of the things that happens in wars is unexpected things. There's still a lot of problems with energy in Russia. Russia is still getting some oil out, but a big imbalance in oil could cause prices to go way up. They were over $100 just 2 years ago. A lot of that was because of Ukraine. So we could have another spike in energy, and one of the things the economy gets clobbered by is when oil heads up towards $100 and gas heads towards $5. So keep an eye on that. It could get a lot worse. The worst of the worst things that could happen is that the Russians could use tactical nuclear weapons. People keep saying that will never happen. Putin's too sane. He would never do that to his own people. He would never kill a bunch of his soldiers. Well, you know something? Putin may not be sane, so you've got to take that into account. If you want to move over to areas like the stock market, earnings are going to be very important, more important than usual because the stock market is so high. You've got third quarter earnings coming up, so that will start in a week or so. You got to keep an eye on these because if earnings are weak, the stock market will go down. That's pretty much a staid rule that rarely changes. So as you look across the face of America and you look across the face of the American economy and the stock market, and you look at all the global influences that could move the economy up or down, you have to sit down and ask yourself, is there still a chance there could be a really big recession? The answer to that, unfortunately, is yes.